Hello everyone, this is Mohammed and welcome back to the channel. So in continuation to my previous um, videos that I've shared on the I thought this might be one of the video worth adding to the channel, which is on the model context protocol. And I thought this is obviously one of the very interesting topic at the moment, but at the same time I'm trying to explore how this can help me on my day-to-day activities. So what I wanted to share within this video is just a couple of slides with some links and resources that might be worth looking at. But obviously we will not stop just with that. We will also look into the practical side of it or a demo. Okay, so back in November, Anthropic they introduced the model context protocol, and the link to the articles, etc. They are here within the slides. So obviously, I'll ship the video with the slides, so you should eventually have access to all of these links, etc. But there are a couple of things which I just wanted to touch base within this video, and at the same time, I don't want to make a lengthy video, so you would get the message at the end. Right, so this is the official website of the Anthropic on the Model Context Protocol .io, where you would eventually find a set of libraries that links to their GitHub repo that you can eventually integrate when you are building this application. And you would eventually need to have the Claude desktop, which is something that I'm using at the moment. But there are several other ways where you can eventually do this workflow. And just recently, I think a week ago or so, OpenAI as well has extended their support for the MCP, and the same with the Gemini as well. So obviously, I'm not gonna go through with all of these definitions, etc., because that's something for you to further explore. Just thought, I'll try to put some of these links and information. What I wanted to cover here within the slide, obviously the link or the images, etc., they comes back from the relevant link. So the credit goes to the team who's posting all of this information there. All right. So one of the key challenge at the moment that we had is that if you go to any of these the chatbots like the OpenAI ChatGPT or the Claude or the Gemini, etc., if you ask them to eventually write an email, they can eventually some craft an email for you. But then what it cannot do at the moment is that it cannot compose that email directly within your um, applications that you are using, for example, Gmail. Okay, so the the way that the MCP works is that you can eventually write some functions and create those connectors with your applications or the tools or the databases, etc., that can eventually interact directly with those applications. Okay, and if you look into the current capabilities of the tool, like if you are looking into it like probably next month or two, you would eventually find this pretty much outdated because there are so many things which is happening and it's pretty much like fast paced within the AI industry at the moment. So if you see there are a couple of clients that you can eventually use. For now, I'm more focusing on the Claude, and what it does is that you would eventually write your own functions and the workflow. But there are so many servers that are available at the moment, and there is one which I found it very interesting recently was on the symmetry. Okay. I think I recall this pretty much, I think week or 2 weeks ago. When I looked at it, it was somewhere about 2000 or something like that, the agents. Now, when I looked at it, it's like 3000 plus, right? So this is really growing very fast. So for example, if you wanted to probably you might be looking at Speckle, right? So I've seen that there is one which is available for Speckle as well. So there is an Speckle server that you can eventually use for connecting with the cloud. Okay, I think I also have seen Hyper, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, there is one also for Revit as well that I've seen it like last week or two. There are a couple of videos going on, on the LinkedIn. Okay, and apart from that, I'm not sure if there is anything else for the AEC. Okay, I think pretty much like Speckle and the one for the Revit MCP, which is available at the moment. Um, I've also seen a couple of weeks ago there is another interesting one, which is the BIM engine AI. They have an integration with the Microsoft Teams and the Slack, where you can eventually use this chat interface. It's very much act like an agent where you can eventually instruct it to do something with your active models, etc. Then it basically performs certain actions. So a couple of things I think is worth just looking at their videos, etc. But there is not much information here. But then if you request them access to their Slack channel, then you would eventually find a couple of information about this application. But it's worth looking at this one. There is another one which I have seen, which is I think it's called like Z Monster or something, which also has quite a lot um, on the MCP. Again, the language is, I think at the moment they only have a Chinese version of that. So I haven't personally looked at it myself, but I think there is one thing which I definitely wanted to explore in the future is on the BIM engine, and definitely keep an eye on the symmetry, where you would eventually find a lot of these, which is pretty much like plug and play. You don't need to, eventually write everything yourself. So for example, if you see there is one here for the Google Drive where you can directly connect with the Google Drive, you can search the files within the Google Drive, you can run through some analysis, etc. All right. So again, as I said, like, I don't want to have this video plenty, so I'll try to keep it short. So there are quite a lot of these integrations which are already happening. So the website that we just saw has quite a lot of these applications already there. So if you wanted to explore, or if there is any of these applications of your interest, I think it's worth looking at. There is one which is particularly that I have personally explored is on the Notion. So I was trying to extract some of the information from the models and then trying to share it with Notion to create some reports, etc. That was something that I was exploring, as well as with the Superbase, one of the database. So I was trying to take the information from the Superbase, push it, or import and export back from Revit. That was something also worth looking at. Okay, so what I have done is that I've tried to create like some of these adapters. Uh, these adapters, um, these adapters are pretty much for different applications. So for example, there is one adapter that I've created for the Autodesk applications. For example, you can use this for Revit, Navisworks, AutoCAD or Civil 3D, and the Autodesk platform services. The APS is something that I haven't explored, but I know it's doable with that. But obviously for the 3ds Max, I've definitely looked into it. But there is something that I wanted to look at, which is the APS services. Okay, there are another ones which I have also looked into from the Rhino. Rhino and Speckle is definitely that I wanted to try, but it's Rhino is something that I've already explored, and it's sort of a good workflow in a sense. And obviously there is one which is very generic, which is for the file systems here. So the file systems are basically to interact with your computer. Right. So for example, if I have some files on my drive and I wanted to run some analysis on some spreadsheets, etc., that's worth looking at as well with with MCP service. Okay, so the demo that we will eventually look at is on the file systems. We'll look into another demo for Revit, Navisworks, and again, like the video, I don't want it to keep it longer. I was hoping that I would eventually run through the initial documentation at the 5 minutes because I have some limits with the recorder that I'm currently using, so don't want it to have it too lengthy. So probably for AutoCAD or Rhino, we'll eventually look into some another video, but for now we'll cover just for the three main areas for this video. Okay. And here is one of the example code that to look into the file systems. So for example, if I wanted to get the total number of files, and as I said, like I'm using the official SDK, so with C Sharp, so you can eventually explore that, as well as there are I think plenty of them which are available online. Okay, so in order to get the total number of files from a particular folder or from a location, you can eventually build these kind of functions and then plug this onto the desktop connector. Okay, so if you look into the Claude desktop, currently I have about 14 tools being registered here. So the FS is for the file systems, Navisworks are for the Navisworks related connectivity. There is obviously one for Revit, and then similarly for the Rhino and AutoCAD, etc. Like you can eventually build that. And the way that I'm currently doing is that I have all of these config being set up, and then this config they are basically reading the exe file. Okay, so they are basically have like an exe file that I'm currently passing for the configuration, whereas you can eventually get like Python or the TypeScript, etc. Okay, so what I would eventually do is that if we look into this particular folder, there are about like 6 files within this folder. But what we'll tell the Claude is to, we'll ask a question and then we'll see like, if it's able to figure this out. So if I just take the path, uh, if I say count the number of files, and then I give the path, and if you look into that function, this is the function that is going to run. It will know based on the context that you are eventually doing, and every time you run this, it would eventually ask you the permission, whether if you want to allow this chat or you want to only allow this only once or you deny it. So I'll just say allow this chat, and it basically tells me that there are 6 files within this folder. So let's say if I just add a few more, and if I rerun this, it should say that there are 9 files now. Okay, because you can see the benefit here now is that you're actually utilizing this LLMs to directly talk with your computer, okay, or with your files or with your applications or databases, etc. Okay. There is another example that we would eventually look for is from the Revit itself. So within Revit, I've got few rooms here placed. So what I would eventually say is there is one connector here. Just for the sake of this demo, I've made some of them listed here. Currently, I had quite a few that I have built, and I'm really struggling to find which is what, and I'm hoping that there might be some better way to do this. If there is something that I eventually find out in the future, then I'll definitely post a video. But for now, as you can see that this hammer shows like there are 14 tools which are available. So I'll say here, list all the room information from the Revit model and create chart. Okay, so now this is obviously connected with the model, and what it is trying to do is that it's trying to get all the rooms which are available within this model, and then it's writing a. All right, so now you can see that it has eventually grabbed like all these room numbers, the name, the level, and the element ID for all of these rooms, and then it has eventually made like some more interactive. What we would eventually do is we would eventually place a couple of more rooms here, and probably I should renumber these rooms. Okay, I'll just renumber some of these rooms here, and what we wanted to do is we wanted to. Okay, so now based on some additional rules that we have added, it's trying to rewrite this React script, and it's basically updating the dashboard. The benefit that you can eventually see from here is that you're not only able to interact with your model, but at the same time you can export this information to an Excel format to a specific location. So earlier, in the previous example, we looked into the the way how the files have been read from the computer, right? Like similarly, there is a function here for creating an Excel file. So now what I can do is I can eventually run this function, and I can ask to dump all of this information about this particular rooms to that location. So you can see that there is some details, there are some distribution of these rooms. I can eventually ask it to group this based on the room numbers, etc. Right? And the room area by distribution, etc. So quite a lot of things. It's very handy to do it. Obviously, I have a subscription with the cloud, so I'm using one of their current model now. Okay, but similarly, you have so many other functions for Revit that you can eventually use. For example, if you want to export the information from the model, if you wanted to validate some of these code compliance, etc., that's something that you can eventually do as well. So imagine like you upload a PDF file, you say that, based on this code compliance, check for the fire rating, etc. So quite a lot can be done within the model. Okay, that's from the Revit side, but at the same time, if you look into the Naviswork, what you can eventually do is, for example, within this current Naviswork model, I've got like few of these NWCs been loaded. So I'll just go here, and again, just for the sake of the demo, I've just created like few here. So I can say, get me the list of models. Now what it is doing is that it's trying to retrieve all uh, the models which are loaded within that Naviswork. So if I go here to the Naviswork, and if I look into the chat here, you can eventually see that it's basically trying to say that these are the files which are available or which are loaded within Naviswork. But imagine like you wanted to run this for a class detection interface. That's something that I've been working on. Currently look very promising, the way that it is trying to analyze and then prepare the dashboard, etc. Obviously, it's not for this video, but I'm just trying to give you some taste of what could be the potential use of building these MCPs servers. All right, I think I might have covered pretty much everything that I wanted um, to talk about. And obviously, I think the future for the MCPs is definitely going to be more a a remote version. Currently, everything has to be done from the user machine, but hopefully in the future there might be some ways where you can eventually run this agentic task to perform like these various the agents interact with each other more like in a remote way. All right, I think this is it for this video. Thank you very much again for watching this video. If you find it useful, then please do share. Thank you.